Kimberly from Fat Quarter Shop, and last year we gave you a free Christmas quilt called All the Trimmings. You can find that on our website, but this year we're back and we're going to make a free pattern called Christmastime, and you can download the fabric requirements and part 1 on the website now. We also have a matching cross stitch because the more the merrier. Now let's talk about what fabric you need for this. You're going to need 1 layer cake, and we're using the Christmas Stitch collection. You need 1 yard for your background and your border, and we're using a brownish taupe from Christmas Stitched, ½ yard binding, and 1 yard backing. And in all of the free tutorials, I'm going to be using our Fill Color 2000 since that's my favorite thread to work with, and it works really nice with the background. So we're going to start in the kitchen with part 1, and we're going to get started on our block. So go to fatquartershop.com and download the week 1 instructions. They're completely free. And then you'll take your layer cake that you're working with. Today we're working with Christmas Stitched, and each time we're pulling a fabric out, we just pull the one that matches here. So I've already pulled those out and cut, and I'm using alphabetties to label everything. The only thing here to pay attention to is on fabric D, it's right here. You want your rectangle to be skinnier on the width and longer on the length. And on the cup, these fabric E's go this way. So you'll need 1 that has the width skinny and 2 that has the width long, so that all of your words go up and down. Now, you don't have to do that. That's just a tip that I have. And I keep everything on my design board. And what we're going to do is we're going to just build the block as we go. But I'm going to take the pattern, and anything that has a corner square, I'm going to do all of that in one step and then start putting the block together. So I'll start with fabric D. The great thing about our patterns is everything is listed, so you don't actually have to read if you don't want to. And it looks like we put a fabric C on the bottom left and bottom right. Now I've already drawn a line on the wrong side of my fabric C's with a friction pin, and friction pin is great to use because later, once you iron, that line is going to come off. So I've used that, and I used the Creative Grids 3.5 by 6.5 inch ruler to mark. It ends up a really great size for this pattern. I'll take 2 of my squares, and I have been using the Acorn Precision glue lately, and I'm just going to put some glue on there. And I have found that I'm able to save time when I'm sewing doing that. So I'll just leave that there. That's part 1, and it says make 1. We'll go to the next part, which is going to be the top and the bottom of your cup handle. So you'll want to take one where the directions go this way. So you don't want to put a corner square on this one because that's the one that's going to go up and down. So on this one, we're going to face our C this way. And then when we go to the next page, the other C goes on the bottom corner. And this is great if you're going to a retreat or something. You could basically get everything prepped and then just sew when you get to your retreat. Now these steps right here are not corner squares, but this one is. So we can still do this one, and this is a fabric F, and then our last 2 fabric C's. And you just pay attention to the direction of the drawn lines on your pattern. And this Christmas stitched fabric is so pretty. I think you're going to really love sewing with it because it's so pretty. And we're using Fill 2000 since there are a lot of light fabrics. So as you can see from week 1, these are all of my corner squares, and I'm just going to take my board and we're going to go straight to the sewing machine. We're going to sew with a 1.5 stitch length. I'm going to stitch directly on the drawn lines. So from here, what I'm going to do is trim a 1/4 inch away from that drawn line using that same ruler I mentioned. This is a smaller quilt with smaller blocks, so a smaller ruler makes sense. And this is a great way to tackle any type of pattern where you do a lot of the similar steps together, because everything will go a lot smoother and quicker. So from here, we're going to go to the ironing station and we're going to press according to the arrows in the pattern. And we have nice, easy to read black arrows, and if you press the way the pattern says, everything will nest. So let's go do that. So when I was looking at the pattern, this pattern is very easy on pressing because you can press all of your squares toward the background, which makes it nice and easy to remember. And they're small pieces, so once I have the heat on there, I'm going to put the clapper. It's going to make it nice and flat. And before I just press to the corner, I am setting my seams. That will give you more accurate results and less wavy fabric. And then I just kind of keep building with my clapper. And then from here, we'll go back and we'll just start building our block. And at this point, I won't be using the glue anymore because I've done all of my corner squares and I only use the glue for my corner squares. So now I'm going to take my pieces and start building my block, and I'm going to do as many steps at the same time as I can. So I'm going to put a fabric B at the top. I'm going to put the handle here that goes this direction, and here I just want to make sure my numbers are up, and then I'm going to add this one, and then one more B goes there, and then another B goes here, and then at the end we're going to have an A and an A. So now I can get rid of this design board, and then I'm just going to think through what can I sew all at the same time. So I can sew this to this, and I'm going to use pins at this point, and I like to use thin pins that are nice and sharp. And by pinning, when you go to the machine, all you have to do is put your 1/4 inch foot on and just sew where you have all of your pins done, and then you don't even have to think about it. And then we'll iron and then place it back on the board the way it goes. So I'll just go to my sewing machine and just sew with a 1/4 inch seam on all of the pinned pieces. So from here, I'm going to lay my block out so I can just see where everything is placed, so that when I'm pressing, I'm going to press the direction of the arrows in my pattern. So from here, I'm going to basically be doing the same thing. Just keep building your block. And you can see some of the pieces I'm doing at different times as others, and it's up to you if you want to do that to save time or not. But right here I need to do both of these seams, and now you will see how we cut the fabric where all of the alphabet is going the same direction. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to actually pin both sides to make it easy so I don't mess up. So I'll pin that one, and then I can go back up and just pin this one. And we're going to sew these two seams and then press, and then we can put the block together. Now from here, we just need to attach these together, and then we'll attach this last. You just want to make sure your handle is going the correct direction and not like this. I'd hate to admit that that has happened to me several times, but what I am going to do here is pin both sides at the same time, so when I get to the sewing machine I don't have to think about it. So that's pinned, and then I'll pin this. And when you're sewing, you can either sew with all of your seams at the top or all of your seams at the bottom. So from here, we're going to press two different directions. So what I'm is easiest, set this seam, and then just press one at a time. So now you're on your very last seam, and right here these seams should have met, and they luckily did, so I don't have to worry about redoing that. And then I'm just going to put this right sides together and sew our very last seam. So for this last seam, just set your seam, and we're going to press open, but what I like to do is press to one side first and then let the heat not be so hot, and then we're going to press open. I find that I'm less likely to burn myself that way. We're going to make one of these blocks. I'm going to let the clapper sit a little bit before I trim all the little strings off my block. So now I'm going to just trim the edges. This is an optional step. It will just get everything nice and straight. And this block is such a cute standalone block that you could make an entire quilt of just Cup of Cheers, and it would be so cute. So I hope some of you do make a quilt with just this block. Thanks for joining me today for our Christmastime Mystery Quilt Along. Make sure to subscribe to our channel and click the bell so you can be notified for next week's block. I'll see you next week.